Hello and welcome, bookworms. Welcome to this week's episode of The Contented Narrative. So we will be looking at A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. Now, she is the author from The Girl on the Train, which I think was like one of my first episodes, if not the first episode on this channel, believe it or not. And I picked this book up because it's been on my to-read list for a while. And you know what it's like when you've got a really, really long to-read pile and you kind of sat there going, oh, nothing's grabbing me. And then you look on your like Amazon wish list and you go, oh, actually, do you know what? Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy that. So essentially, there's three women connected by one brutal crime, and that's the murder of Daniel Sutherland. So you have three women who have all kind of been included in this Sutherland family, who they have their own reasons for wanting him dead, kind of thing. And you have the woman that's on the houseboat next to him that has a personal history with the dad, not in a personal sense, but in a sort of like she knows him and has been wronged by him before. You've got the woman that's accused of the crime who suffers a lot from different diagnoses, and she's actually accused of it, and she's sort of trying to find a way to get her life back together. And then you've got the mother as well of the victim, because you're trying to fit, like, as the story progresses, it's quite early on that you kind of figure out that like Daniel isn't a nice person, and at one point it's kind of like, did he commit this crime? Like, was it something, like, you'll know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to sort of like give anything away, but I genuinely 100%, when you read it and it's sort of did he commit the crime? I think, and I'm going to say this now, I think he did it. I think he's a sicko. But again, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I think he did what his mum and his aunt suspected him of. But Paula Hawkins is really good at sort of like telling a story and like eking out the details in a way that doesn't feel like you're getting annoyed. So like what I mean by that is sometimes you're reading something or you're watching a program and they're trying to keep the suspense for a reason. So they'll say like little bits here, little bits there, and you're like, I almost swore then. You're like, for God's sake, like, just tell me what's going on. Like, I don't care about this anymore. And you just get impatient. You're like, I need to know, like, you literally, I'm not invested in the story. I'm literally just like, I'm getting annoyed that you're drip feeding me at like a freaking hamster bottle. But like with Paula Hawkins, when I'm reading her work, she is drip feeding you information, but it's in a way that feels natural. So like if you were to like encounter these characters, if you were to have these conversations, the lies that happen, but then the truth that we're kind of being told and the story that we're being told doesn't annoy me. Now, it's not as good as the other two books that I've read by her, The Boy in the Water and The Girl on the Train. Boy in the Water's top for me, Girl on the Train's next, and then Slow Fire Burning. So it's not her best work, but it is still really, really interesting. And when you get to the end and when you figure out who killed Daniel Sutherland and why they killed Daniel Sutherland and all the increments that kind of go around this one person, it just makes you sit back and go, like, because I know for a fact that everybody out there will have had someone that you've encountered and gone, he's not a very nice person. But for some other reason, other people like them. Or they pretend to like them. So like I can sit there and go, do you know what? I'm not a fan of that person. I don't know why. They just rubbed me up the wrong way. But I don't want to say it because everybody else seems to like that person. But then everybody else is thinking, I'm not a fan of that person either. I don't know what's going on with them. But then because of like societal norms and because everyone seems to be happy and enjoying, and the consensus is this person's not a nice person. But it's not what's said. And this is why I find the Daniel Sutherland character really believable, because of the fact that like once he's dead, once he's gone, once he's been brutally murdered, everyone's like, oh, thank God. Like, he was this, he was that, he was the other. And I sometimes feel like as well, like I like when I get that in stories, because there's nothing worse than like, again, TV, film, books, when you're reading and the character's awful and then they die and then everyone's like, oh, such a loss. And you're like, no, they're not. And again, it's the same in real life when someone passes away and sometimes you go, they were a horrible piece of work. Like, why are you lamenting them? What, like, but again, it's the societal norms. And I love that Paula Hawkins builds that in. So that at one point, I did feel a little bit bad being like, he deserves it. And then I was like, oh, wait. And then I was like, wait a minute. So I do think her writing's really good for that. So I would definitely recommend checking this out. As I said, I've only read it quite recently. It was pretty good. It took me a couple of days to get through, which normally I can finish like a 300-400 page book in a day, 2 days, and this took a little bit longer than that. But it was a very enjoyable book. Again, I definitely want to know, so once you've read it, if you do think that he committed the crime that they are kind of discussing, that's kind of like, didn't he? I want you to just put in the comments whether or not he did or didn't. Don't put anything else descriptive, because I don't want people reading the comments and getting the book spoiled for them. But I would love to know what you guys think as well, because I think he was sadistic. I think he was not a very nice person. Again, he's a character, and I'm talking to him like he was like sat next to me. But obviously, if you agree or disagree with anything that I say, please leave it below in the comments. If you've read her other works and you thoroughly enjoy it, she's probably read more than those 3 books. I'm just saying they're the 3 books that I have read by her. But thank you so much for your continued support. I can see my subscriber list is growing, so thank you so much for that. Share with your friends, your family. You know, let me know any good books that you've read that you'd like me to review on the channel, and I'll definitely try and get around to them as quickly as possible. But thank you so much, everybody, for your continued support, and remember to always keep it contento.